Hey everybody, with the return of Dual Class Arena once again this year, I figured to make a short video to help you guys get the most you can out of your free arena run. And if, like me, you really enjoy Dual Class Arena and want to do a bunch of runs, then that's great too. So hopefully this video will give you kind of a starting point, some ideas that you can apply to your runs and make sure you have a good time. So the plan is to give general tips first. Then next, give you guys some of the class combinations I think will be best during this meta. And then finally, the most important tip of all at the end. All right, so some general tips for dual class arena. I think the first thing you want to do if you want to make the most out of your arena ticket is play early during the event. So I remember this pretty well from past years that we've had this event. Normally, the averages, at least my personal average, is significantly higher when people are using their free arena tickets. And so in this case, since there's only going to be one free arena ticket, I think I would try to play during the first week. If you don't get a arena run the first week, I think you also might get a little bit of a softer meta during the second week, particularly because this patch is paired with a giant BG patch. So I think there's a good chance that people will check out BGs at least for the first few days, maybe even the first week. And then once they figure that out a bit, they'll jump into the arena. So I would prioritize getting your runs done first or second week. If you have to do it later on, I mean, it's still a free ticket, so definitely do it. But it will probably get a little bit harder as the event goes on. My second big tip would be don't be too greedy. So generally, when you have people coming back to the arena, which oftentimes happens with free tickets, they like to be they like to pick a lot of the super powerful cards, and oftentimes the powerful cards are expensive, and so a lot of these returning players might prioritize these fun cards over actual curve. And the meta isn't such that you can get away with just not caring about curve at all. Hunter is pretty good right now, and you can have a lot of success with definitely mid-range or even very aggressive decks. So I would say play a more early game oriented deck so that you can punish people for their greedy decks. The next big tip that I would give is to be careful about which class you select first or second. So generally, you don't want to take a class with a terrible hero power as your second option. So in the past, like you don't want warrior second, for example. Same thing with shaman. Shaman's hero power is very inconsistent. You don't want to take shaman second. And then there are certain classes that have a very good hero power for tempo, like mage, rogue, and demon hunter. Mage isn't necessarily great for tempo, but it's very flexible. So I would say you kind of want to leave the second pick to one of those classes. If you get offered something early that you really like and you want to play, then fine. You can go for it, even if it has a good hero power. But I think the state of the current meta is such that classes are so close to each other that there isn't one class that's so good that you'd want to take it first, just so you don't risk getting it offered a second time. So if you just look at the stats right now, like Warlock, Druid, Hunter, and Warrior are maybe a little bit better than the other classes, but everything is pickable. So what that tells me is that Warrior as your Warrior as your first option is going to be really good. Because if Warrior is winning right now in Arena with the armor up hero power, it's going to be really insane if you get a pair it with an actual hero power that affects the board. All right, so now moving on to what specific class combinations I think will be best in this year's dual class arena event. I've got to, of course, start it up with the Smorket combination. Now this is Hunter first, Demon Hunter second. The reason I like Demon Hunter second is because oftentimes the way that Hunter loses arena matches is they fall behind early because they don't have a hero power that affects the board. Now, Demon Hunter's hero power is one of the, if not the best in the early game. So you kind of mitigate the risk of an early game blowout by having a hero power that is great in those early turns. Both classes have a lot of early game early game power. So a lot of premium one drops, a lot of good tempo cards. So I think they complement each other really well and work towards that early game domination, which leads to mid game damage, which allows you to close out the game. And another thing about this combination is one of Demon Hunter's weaknesses can be that they can't end the game through taunts. So obviously you have the one mana silence, but outside of that, if you don't have that card, you don't have things that just directly go face. And Hunter, man, Hunter's great at this, right? So obviously, Kill Command is the most potent one, but even just things like Arcane Shot to get that last little bit of damage in can be great. Obviously, in this combo, you aren't going to have the Hunter hero power to just put them on that clock that can close out the game. But I think that's worth it because you mitigate the risk of the early game blowout, which I think is way more damaging than losing the Hunter hero power. I think either way is okay. Like in this one, I don't think which one you pick first or second is quite as important. And really, you can build your deck one way or the other. So if you want to be super duper aggro and low curve, then I think the Hunter hero power can work. But I'm thinking of more of like a mid-rangey strategy. And in that case, I definitely want the Demon Hunter hero power to help smooth out early and mid-game turns. So moving from the Smorkit combination to maybe the complete polar opposite combination, I'm going to call this one the Create It combo. And this is Priest first, Mage second. The reason I like Mage second is similar to the last combo, where just having a ping is so useful and in a lot of ways a lot safer. The idea that I have for this combination is that you pretty much win by outvaluing everyone. So both Mage and Priest can generate a lot of cards, which generate more cards, and oftentimes the cards you generate are very powerful. So I think that's kind of the clear win condition with this combination. One thing that I do want to note is when you're drafting this combo, I think you actually want to prioritize early game curve and removal more than you do generation, which seems a little weird because I've called it the Create It comp. But I think with these two classes, you're going to get enough of that type of generation. So you want to make sure you get cards like the premium Mage 3 drops, like Firebrand, for example, right? Like you want these cards to keep you in the early to mid game so that you can do all of your fun stuff later on. Same thing with AoE. So Priest has really good early game AoE, things like Holy Nova, even Shadow Madness you could consider kind of as an AoE effect. And then mages, of course, have Flame Strike, which is one of, if not the best mid to late game board clears. So I would prioritize those cards as well as the cheap removal, Shower Pain, Shadow or Death, Frostbolt. And I would trust that you're going to get enough of the dumb stuff to not worry about running out of cards later on. All right, the next specific combination I want to highlight is let's go with Curvestone It combination. So this is going to be Druid first, Rogue second. The reason I like this combination quite a bit is because right now, according to the win rates, Druid's doing quite well. So they're getting high card quality stuff. And if you replace the Druid hero power with the Rogue hero power, in most cases, it's just a straight upgrade. It's more flexible. You can play it on turn 2, even when you don't have to kill something. And you can keep it for tempo on the later turns. So by getting that upgrade with an already pretty strong kit regarding card quality being offered, I think it's a good fit. Also, these two classes complement each other in that they can bring something to the table that the other class struggles with. So for Druid has a big problem with dealing with big minions, especially with Naturalize no longer being a thing. They tend to lose to some big drop that they can't handle. Well, Rogue is probably the best at dealing with big minions. Things like Coerce, Assassinate, Sap, Plaguebringer. So they complement each other very well. Also, both classes have pretty good minions to drop on curve, even starting at turn 1. So Rogue has both Spy Mistress and Pharaoh Cat, which are premiums. Druid has Acorn Bearer as well. And these one drops both are good tempo and in some cases give you value as well and get the ball rolling early. So my plan with this class combination is you get on the curve or get on the board early, control the board, and push damage in the early mid game. Hopefully trying to close the game out on the earliest side. You can do a couple of different things. Depending on how much value you get, you can play a late game because these two classes can generate a decent amount of stuff. But I think the most consistent strategy would be going for not necessarily aggro, but a mid-range strategy that wants to push damage, and then use the rogue removal at the end to kind of close the game out. All right, so the final combination I want to talk about is actually from Twitch chat, which is perfect because if it doesn't end up being good, I could just blame chat. So let's call this one Soul Fragmented. This is going to be Demon Hunter first and Warlock second. The reason I want Demon Hunter first in this one, even though I've talked about how valuable a ping hero power is that I want to be able to discover Demon Hunter demons. So Demonic Studies, which is a Warlock card, can now discover much better demons. There are some good Warlock demons, but the pool of Demon Hunter demons is significantly stronger. Also, the Warlock hero power isn't bad. It's actually one of the better ones. And I think in this combination, you're going to try to shoot for a lower curve as well. Like generally, I think being a little more aggressive is going to be beneficial during the dual class event. And by being aggressive and drafting a low curve, you should have time to tap at some point. Also, just based off the name, Soul Fragmented, I think there is a decent chance that you can make a good synergy deck with these two classes. So obviously they both get Soul Fragment cards, and when you do hit this type of synergy, those cards become very, very powerful. And you guys know I'm a sucker for synergy, so I'm going to try to make it work. I don't know how consistent it will be, but when it does work, it should be quite strong. So yeah, those are the four combinations I decided to highlight. Obviously, there's a lot of combinations that are going to be good, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys have success with. And I'll be trying out literally everything. Dual class arena is always a lot of fun for me, so I'm going to be putting a lot of time trying to figure everything out. So the final thing I want to say about the dual class event is probably the most important one, and that is don't take it too seriously. I know from past years playing a lot of dual class, things get really wacky. Like it's hard to play around stuff because there's so many variables. People pull off pretty crazy combinations. I know in years past there's been Blood Bloom plus UI or Blood Bloom plus Free from Amber. Luckily, Blood Bloom isn't a thing anymore, but I'm sure there's still going to be some pretty disgusting combos. And you can't play around that stuff. So I find that the less serious I take dual class, the more fun I have. Obviously, these tips are intended to help you get the most out of your free arena ticket and out of any future runs you do. But in the end, just have a good time.